Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Steve Ramona. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast. Steve Ramona. We're all about to talk on life. Our guest will share his life story. We want you to success in life. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk on life. We're gonna talk on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness. Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast.
Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. Every episode is an invitation, a reminder that business and life isn't just about profit, it's about purpose. It's about showing up with a servant's heart in every deal and every decision, every day to make a powerful impact on others. Today's guest is going to light you up. You'll be motivated, you'll be challenged, and most importantly, you're going to walk away with tools that inspire action both in your life and the lives of others. Audience, here's your homework. How will you serve yourself and others today? Doesn't have to be a big impact. Even a small act of kindness or courage can change the game. So lean in, take notes. Shout out to my two sponsors, A Mind for All Seasons. Your brain is your greatest competitive edge, and it deserves to perform like one. Want to think faster, remember more, and stay focused longer? Just text the word optimize to 72000. Optimize to 72000 and get instant access to 6 short, powerful videos, each just 3 to 5 minutes, that reveals simple strategies to unlock peak mental performance. Because when your brain is clear, your business grows. And Epic Impact, the storytelling system that helps your message connect and convert, it's just 4 steps. Engage, persuade, inspire, close with clarity. I use it every day for all my messages. Try it free at epicimpact.ai with code STEVE. Change your messages, change your results. Excited to announce Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast was named top 6 in small business marketing. Thank you all of you, my guest and my audience. You've impacted so many people. Let's continue doing that. Welcome to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am so grateful that you came today because we're going to talk about caring. Simple word. People use it hundreds of years. But are you a leader that really cares? Are you a founder, CEO, president, C-suite, whatever label you use? Are you really care about the people you work with? And do you care about your competitors? So let's jump in because we're going to talk all about this and much more. Mark, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. I'm glad you cared enough to have me on the show.
Great segue. That's awesome. Well, leaders who care, what does that really mean to you?
Well, it's a long story. How much time we have?
We got a few minutes.
Well, during, in my career and in my personal life, I saw along the way, in sports, in family, in business, I saw people being leaders who really did care about others. The coach that cared about the player, the boss that cared about the employee, the parent that cared about the kid in a good way. The families that cared about each other in a succession type of environment, type of thing. And what I did notice, and I can give you examples, is that they did better in life in general. That means they did better in business. They did better. Their families were predominantly better. I mean, you can never do 100% generalization, but they were better. They were less stressed out. They had core values. We all have stresses. We all have things going on in life, welcome to life type of thing. But in general, they were more successful, and not just in money, although business leaders were doing better business-wise and performance of their employees and all that, but just feeling good. And you notice that stress is probably, in my opinion, stress is a big deal in the health issues we have right now, physical and mental, physically inflammation and everything else, but just stress itself affects so many things. And then it's a domino effect. If you have a coach that's constantly stressed, the players are going to be stressed. They won't perform as well. If you have a boss that's constantly stressed, and put it on you for your performance, you're going to be stressed like a player not to make a mistake. I mean, it's a domino effect all the way. And what's that famous line? It takes more muscles to frown than smile. Just something to think about, right?
Yeah, it's a good statement. Hockey's your sport, right? If I remember last time we talked, hockey has been your thing. There it is. I knew you had to put it on. Go
There it is.
Canadians. I love it. What did you learn? What do you learn from hockey that you can put into business?
And it probably applies to other sports too, and even to music.
Mm,
But I had some great coaches, along the way, and they, you when you play on a team, it doesn't mean singles tennis is not great, but I think people learn more and are fulfilled more by winning as a team, and I'll go into two different answers, if you will. One,
sure.
in my own life, I had coaches who taught me, for example, how to visualize before we had AR and VR and all that stuff, but even to visualize and be ready for the game type of thing. But then I had a coach that said, when I was going for my CPAs up in Canada, he said, you can visualize yourself, doing your exam way before you've done your exam. And visualization, and I'm sure you know this, Steve, is you've been there before when you visualize. So when you do get on the ice or you do get into CPA exam in Canada, it's 4 days in a row, 4 hours each in this massive room. So you go in, you sit down, you get to get your pens, you get your calculator, you get everything. It might take 15 minutes, and then you get settled and all that, your mojo. You're losing time. And instead of you sit down and you've been there already writing the exam, and you've got an energy that is, I can do this, I can perform, I can make this happen. And so there's a lot in sports that you learn about life. And 99% of kids that play sports are not turning pro. And I've always had a big belief from my education that we're not capitalizing on that time to educate young people. Doesn't take away from school, it totally adds to the school. And it's not just, which is very important, not just the leadership part, not just the team part, which is critical to every part of life. It's how do you prepare to win? How do you prepare to lose? How do you eat when you're not playing? How do you sleep? What do you do? Do you read? I mean, things like that create and this applies to business too, that create a foundation for your whole life, including business, on on an enduring positive life. Where you're prepared. You're prepared. I had this NHL executive tell me once in an interview. He said, every year we have a goal to win the Stanley Cup, to win the championship. That's our goal. We're not naive. We're not going to win it every year. Sometimes maybe 2 years, whatever, but you're not. But we have a mandate to have a winning season every year. Now, what does that mandate mean? It means each person is accountable, and each person is also supportive of every other person in the organization, including the secretary, the Zamboni driver, the usher, because they're part of the culture because they're there. And that's a big deal. And we're, as people say, so well, we're social species, human beings. And when you get a culture that supports each other like that, I just saw a movie. It's from 2020. It's about this high school football coach, Bob Ladouceur, Coach LaSalle, and he talked about you don't have to be perfect, but you have to be perfect in your effort in the game all the time, and it's brilliant. And the kids would talk about what other kids on the team were committed to, and you became a team, and it's the best feeling in the world to play in sport, in business, in an orchestra, whatever, to play with the team and everybody's going in the same direction. And guess what they talk about a lot? Caring about each other and loving each other.
Hey, LaSalle, it's funny you mentioned that's right. I'm in San Jose. I know De La Salle, they were, and here's the great thing is he was extremely successful. I think he won 200 games in a row. Don't
Well,
know
he
the
won
number.
151 games in a row. And I
That's what
only
it
know that
was.
because I saw the movie recently.
Yeah, yeah.
And he
So
had to teach the kids, though, that it's not about the streak because everybody's saying the streak, the streak, the streak. And when they lost one game, they said, this is where you find out who you really are, type of thing. Because anybody can have a great attitude when things are going well. Who comes to the table when there's an obstacle or a challenge and stuff like that? and that's something you prepare for. And again, it so applies to life and business and everything. In fact, I'll throw another thing in there. I learned before, but it got noticed by me more with interviewing, as you would have done, a lot of executives, and especially men. They would always talk to me about when they were 11, the coach put them out in one of the most critical times of the game. And they don't even tell me if they scored or not. The whole emphasis is that coach actually believed in me to put me out in that part of the game. And that is their foundation. It could have been the only time it ever happened. That is their foundation for their confidence in their life to do that. And there's an expression, it only takes one person to believe in you. And so it's, that's where I see it. And I've seen it in schools too. How many teachers have we had where they tell the class, "You're the best class I've ever had by far." And you're thinking, well, she says that's all the classes. However, you believe it anyway that she told you that, and it makes a difference.
A huge difference. Well, let's jump in leaders who care, the impact, because that's the ultimate result, the impact. Talk about the impact it does.
Well, we work with, our core business is talent and leadership and so on. And there's two sides to that. We represent clients as leaders who care. And we ask them what do they care about and why do they care about it, et cetera, et cetera. We do have people that can help them amplify whatever impact they want to make, whether it's food security or poverty or innovation or women's rights, whatever it might be, just so they care and they care about their employees, their financial, their physical and mental well-being of their employees. And the impact it has right there is that, like, talking about team, they become a team because they care about each other that way. And side point, during COVID, I saw the entrepreneurs that had great communications with their employees. During COVID, those employees would go to the owners or the founders or the bosses and say, "How can we help during this hard time?" The ones that didn't have communications with their employees, and started laying off, it was terrible because the employees were mad at them. They weren't including them in the thing and all that. So you lose basically versus being there all the time. And then what's important about it is candidates, people want to go where people care about them. They want to work where people care about them. And it is about hugging too. Hugging is actually a good thing. I like hugging, but it's not
Yeah.
only about hugging. It's
Yeah.
more. And they want to go where they can make great money and they have purpose and make a difference, which is the impact part. Interesting thing enough, not rocket science, if you do stuff with the employees that they want to impact, maybe it's kids, maybe it's foster kids, maybe whatever it may be, there's a cohesiveness in the company, well beyond singing happy birthday embarrassingly to somebody on their birthday at an office, which is
Yeah.
nice, but it gets a little like goofy sometimes.
Yeah.
But great people, a lot of the people we work with aren't desperately looking for jobs, but either way, they want to go where they can make both money and have some purpose and people care. And that, not rocket science, turns into performance, turns into good business, turns into families doing well, turns into, families working at a company, the generations working at the same company even, and things of that nature. Believe me, I'm not a genius. Good looking, but not a genius. And
Yes.
and it's not rocket science that happens. And it's like and it does take everybody. I remember a story about whenever it was one year with one of the NASA rockets went up when we were younger, and they said they had the janitor was massively included in the success of that mission because they showed and talked about the value that janitor did for them, whether it was organizing what everything was going on was clean or this or that or whatever. And it's a big part of it. If you feel good, you're going to perform better too. And everybody on the team counts, not just the superstar.
People want to be seen. And that's exactly what you're, and I love that. It's power audience. Remember that. What he just said, that's $1 million tip there. It's turned companies very successful. And I love hearing companies do those beer Fridays or Taco Tuesdays. Isn't that just a band-aid for the culture?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to do for certain, some
Yeah.
people want it, but but it's not necessarily enduring. People know if you really care. They do know if you really care. And you might have the beer thing, but you might not even go to it. Oh yeah, so we're doing this for you. I mean, it's a little bit like maybe bad analogy. Philanthropy is a great thing, but it's not just about giving money. How many kids say, I just wish my parents wouldn't buy me that thing anymore and just spent more time with me and heard me. You talked about being seen. People also want to be heard. And I'll throw this in here. I think I've talked to you, but I'm on the board of a nonprofit called Million Peacemakers, and their signature program is called Nonflict. And we recommend it to clients. It's Nonflict teaches people that conflict is just different ideas, not something you hate or judge somebody over. And once you've actively, it goes through the process of how you actively, in capital letters, listen to somebody else. And as the scene part you were talking about, if somebody truly believes they were heard, i.e., cared about, then the minimum thing that happens is the edge is taken off of the disagreement. And then you can move to a point of solutions. We spend so much time on which side are you on, what title do you have, what category are you in, and this and that, rather than we want to solve things. How are we going to solve it rather than getting tainted or stopped by, well, you're not the right color or you're not the right whatever, type of thing.
Yeah, this is really good. So profits are important, ROI.
Yeah.
Where's this come in?
It's right in there, man.
Yeah.
Example. Player screws up. I'm a big hockey fan, so say on the ice. Okay. A really good coach doesn't wait till the next week to tell that guy something or gal. Guy comes off the ice. He says, well, this is what happened there and there and there. This is what you did right. This is what you did wrong. First thing that happens is the player respects and appreciates the coach that is really telling him the truth of how to get better versus you suck. I'm going to bench you. That was terrible. What are you doing, you idiot? Something like that. And and then after telling them that, but in real form, professional, these are adults, but the same thing can happen with kids and the same thing. Kids know when you're telling them the truth and you really care about making them better and helping them rather than just punishing them. And then when you put them back on the ice or you put them back on the field, or for a boss, you put them back on the job to finish that project, you will never get more loyalty and effort from that person than ever. What's the ROI? The ROI is incredible because of that, because the alternative is you've now either benched, fired, or whatever that person. You got to hire a search firm, which is fine. That we like to get that, but not in that way. To to replace that person. That person then has to have a different relationship with their colleagues or clients or whatnot because they haven't been there before. So ROI is missed on all the knowledge you had from the other guy, and the opportunity to make that even better based on the foundation. And it's so important. And ROI always goes up in that respect, and it's related to the entrepreneur that talks to their employees all the time
Yeah.
and stuff. You know,
I love that you said that because that's what I want people to hear is you could be successful, you can have make money, you can make income revenue and still good. And what you're saying is it's okay to be negative. Don't expound upon it. Like you're in business. Hey, you're late the last 3 days. Hey, Steve, what can I do to help you get here on time? Instead of like, you're an idiot, you're an a-hole, you're late. I don't know how much longer you're going to live here. I work here. I love that.
and you know what
I,
relates to what you're
go
saying?
ahead.
I'm really good at interrupting, by the way. But
I
you know
love
what
it.
you said? What's great about what you're talking about is even beyond what can I do to help is almost like anything going on, anything happening in your life.
Emotional.
We're humans, right? You might have an argument. You might have tripped and your foot hurts. You have to go to the doctor, or who knows what's going on, or government shuts down. You don't have any money for gas. I
Yeah.
mean, people are human. They've got stuff going on, and who doesn't? And I think in the world today, we're craving caring. And our point, and I look back at my career and I saw, a Deloitte partner that cared about me in a circumstance over a partner because I was talking to a client and the partner wasn't there. I was offered my dream job with a pro hockey team for helping them get 3,000 plus kids signed up and sitting on what turned out to be a major fan club. But I also got then an offer, which I ended up taking for a global nonprofit leadership development organization in Miami. Less money, nonprofit, moved to the States, terrible career move. But the only person that told me to take that was the president of the hockey team that offered me the other job. He cared about me more than needing me to be in the job he offered me. And he was right that happened. That's another way to pay forward for people, because the more we do something like that, the better it gets, and it just it makes a difference. And what a much better way to go through life, right? I mean, there's
Oh,
so much
it's the
stress
best.
already.
Well, and the universe will pay it back, paid him back. I don't know when or where, how. He may never realize it, but universe or me, God, is going to come back and reward him where. It's
Well,
just
it's
people
funny
just don't know
you
when.
say that, because I was once sent a photo, picture or whatever, something that had um, there was three parts to it, one, two, three in a row. In the middle, there was God, Allah, Buddha, universe, energy, Mishkabibble, all sorts of different things in the middle. On one side, people were arguing about what do you call the thing in the middle, and that. And on the other side, everybody was changing their name to Mahatma Rainbow. On the other side, and
I
the
got to get
point of
that.
the whole thing was, and you were just saying it doesn't matter what it's called. I mean, for your own religious beliefs, if it's God or Allah, that's great, but it
Amen.
doesn't matter. What matters is let's be it. Let's be that. Let's engage it. Let's do that. It's
Let's
so
let's
important.
care. Let's just care. Coming to the end here a little bit, we're going to bring him back for the sequel, as we talked about in the green room,
Well, you got
because
to
this
give
is
them
great
a
stuff.
thing for that. In LA, you say you got to leave them wanting more so you can do a sequel, right?
Yeah, there you go. See, he's going to take over my show. No, I'm half kidding. Um, the Fifth Element. I don't want to miss that in your podcast. Talk about the Fifth Element. I love what you're doing there.
Yeah, thanks. It's based on the premise that leaders can do better in their businesses when they're making an impact at the same time, and that goes to the point of our clients retain us to represent them as leaders who care, whatever their business is, whatever the positions they need, and then that helps us attract the type of best people, what we call rate fit culture add people to their company to keep the culture going and add to it. And that's better for business. If they're known that way, because when you recruit, we're branding our client when we're recruiting. Everybody we talk to is branding our client, not to mention us. And so when you're doing that, you got a way better chance of not only attracting the best people, you got the best people to develop, and you got people that you're going to be able to retain, because who wouldn't want to work where you're making great money and you have purpose and care and all that stuff. So, that's what we do. And it makes it a lot of fun, because initiatives come up on food security, initiatives come up on this, initiatives come up with me going to Saudi Arabia, talking to them about expanding, ice hockey and figure skating, and the biggest thing they loved was what we talked about, the educating the young youth while they're playing hockey or figure skating, and all the things we talked about.
You're an impactful man. I tell you, when I first met
Um,
you, I believe it even more as I learned more about you. Real quick, the podcast, Leaders Who Care podcast. Talk about that. What's the mission there?
Mission was to highlight from around the world different types of leaders that did care and that did better in life, and from everywhere in the world, and it's amazing. We're all different, which is great, because it'd be boring if we weren't all the same. And yet we have so much in common, as we say. Um, and you get great stories. And one of the things we ask people is who have been influencers in their lives. And I've had people come out of that saying, no one's ever asked me that. And then they would go public on LinkedIn or whatever, talking about their influencers. And one of the reasons for that is we're all influencing people very often when we don't even know it. And we have a choice. Do we do it positively or do we do it negatively? Because you are going to impact people. And if you watch Mr. Holland's Opus, an old movie, he didn't realize how many people he was impacting until he saw how many people he was impacting. Or you see Nicholas Hinton. I don't know if your audience knows who Nicholas Hinton is, who saved thousands of kids out of Czechoslovakia at that time before the Germans invaded. And they show at the end, true life thing, they show, we have somebody here that you saved, and he was sitting beside him and he was surprised. And then he said, anybody else here that you saved? the whole arena, the whole theater stood up. All the people that he impacted by saving these kids. So what great feeling to do that type of stuff. And so the podcast highlights them. And last thing I'll say is we've more recently brought on 8 to 18-year-olds now too, who are supposed to be the future leaders who care, but they're the present future leaders who care, and they're doing stuff that blows your mind, and it brings it inspires us to think that maybe we will be okay.
I love that because there's some young kids doing incredible things out there. And I'm glad you're finding guests for leaders who care. If we start running out of guests that people carry, we're in big trouble. So I'm glad you're busy and you have a ton of people on your podcast. Well, let's do a little improv. Let's take
You've been on the podcast.
Yes, I was, and I loved it. It was great. Because we want to make an impact. If you care, you're going to want to make an impact, and that's what you're doing. And so let's end with this little improv. So at a restaurant, I've got a table for me and you to sit at. We're going to have dinner. Who would you invite that's been influential in your life, whether dead or alive? And more importantly, what food would you order for that table?
There's so many people, but if I had to pick one, it would be Anwar Sadat.
Wow. How about two more then? I'll give you two more.
Nelson Mandela, I would say, and then no, and then it would be there's so many women that are incredible, but I really love the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, the lady that was former Prime Minister of New Zealand. She's spectacular. There's so many. Can we have a buffet? Can we do a whole thing?
We can have a buffet. Actually, if they bring 100 chairs, we'll bring those. But we'll start those three. And I'm not surprised you brought three people on who care. And wants to die. I mean, they all cared, and we're leaders, and that's powerful. Thanks again for taking the time and really caring about my audience and showing how we can care and really just giving us some great golden nuggets. How can people reach out? I know people want to find and talk to you about some of these things.
Well, they can go on fifthtelement.group, or they can find me on LinkedIn. Or I'm in Hermosa Beach, California. Just come visit. We'll hang up on the beach, then have a good time.
That's an invitation right there. That's a good one.
It's on.
Let's do it. Mark, thanks again. And audience, subscribe to the YouTube channel, but subscribe to Mark's and mine, because these are gifts. You listen to this podcast, and you're thinking, man, my friend's the president of a company. He needs to care more. You send him the podcast.
Yeah, and they're invited to come on the podcast.
And there you go. You get him as a guest, and so much can happen, so much impact, like Mark was talking about. That's why I truly believe podcast links are gifts. So to get those gifts, you got to subscribe. So go ahead and do that. And with that being said, me and Mark want to thank all of you for watching or listening on the podcast. We'll see you on the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Talk to you guys later.
Real pleasure, man.